What is different about Lubavitcher Shechita, and why is it so important?
Well, the short answer to the question is that the Rebbe wanted it. The Rebbe wanted Lubavitcher Shechita. In some places in the world, the Rebbe gave direct instructions. There should be Lubavitcher Shechita, even in places where there was a very, very ehrliche Shechita with ehrliche Shachtim and so on. The Rebbe wanted Lubavitcher Shechita. I suppose you could explain it on two levels. On one level, the answer to the question is that Bechlal ehrliche Yidden, God-fearing Jews, wanted to know what they're eating. You don't just eat. You go into a store, you see products, you look at the hechsher. Whose hechsher is it? You want to know who it is. And of course, it's most ideal that not only you know that the person who gave this hechsher is reliable, you actually know them. And therefore, there is a concept of dafka using a shechit from your community, partially because you know him. You want to identify the shechit, you want to know that you can trust him, because Yiras Shamayim Bechlal and Yiras Shamayim when it comes to Shechita is particularly important. And therefore, in many communities, you didn't eat food unless you know where it came from, period. And you were not saying, Chas v'sholom, that somebody else's food had any kind of a problem, but you wanted to use food that you know the source. And then, of course, the second point is because there is an assumption that a person who learns Chassidus has an increase in Yiras Shamayim. Because one of the things that Chassidus affects is an increase in Yiras Shamayim and Hidur Mitzvah. And of course, when it comes to Shechita, Yiras Shamayim is very important. For those who are not aware, that the tradition in Lubavitch was that the Rabbeim always wanted there should be a Lubavitcher Rov and a Lubavitcher Shechit and a Lubavitcher Melamed and obviously a Lubavitcher Mashpia. But not every community, not every city can afford that. In other words, in larger cities, you had a Chassidish Rav and an Oilemish Rav, a non-Chassidish Rav. And perhaps also a Chassidish Shechita and non-Chassidish Shechita, I don't know. But in those communities where there was not enough resources to have a Lubavitcher Rav and a Lubavitcher Shechit, in other words, you had to be one Rav and one Shechit, the position of the Rebbeim was let the Rav be the Oilemish, the Shechit should be a Chassid. Because there was an understanding that the Yiras Shamayim of a Shechit has to be even greater than the Shemaim of a Rav. And a person who learns Chassidus, and the Gemara says, Ein megalin rozei teira l'misha libe deig bekirbe, that a person who learns Chassidus is libe doyeg, and the Rebbe once explained that it's not the pshat, you're not allowed to learn Chassidus unless you're libe doyeg, but that the learning of Chassidus itself creates the libe doyeg, because it can only have Yediyas HaMetzias, not Asagas HaMahos, increases in Yiras Shamayim. And these are the reasons why the people in particular about Lubavitcher Shechita, Lubavitcher Shechit, and so on. But the point is something much more fundamental. At this point, the issue is much more basic. In other words, let's not even talk about Lubavitcher Shechita. Let's just discuss the whole concept that not everything which is declared kosher you got to eat. Today we're all looking for the easy road. You want to enjoy yourselves, you want to go into this restaurant, you want to go to this restaurant. As long as a hechsher, any kind of hechsher, you walk in, you know the old joke about the Yid who was selling meat, and he had a big, big neon sign that said Basar Kosher. But if you went closely, you saw that it actually said Basar Basar. He just unscrewed the light from the back of the second base, so it looked like Basar Kosher. It was treif. Now, of course, this goes back to before the war, during a time of terrible corruption when it came to kashrus in America. We've come a very, very long way when it comes to kashrus. But the idea that you don't just put food in your mouth, and you're more particular where the food comes from, particularly meat, which is a basic tradition of all Yidden, and certainly Hasidim, has to be upheld. And one of the symptoms of that is that you should know where your meat comes from, who your shaykhah is.